For some context, I'm a Muslim whose family is originally from South Asia, but we're Americans. So there's some cultural pressure for us to get married sooner. So I dated my ex-boyfriend for a little over a year. And it was really great. He treated me great and I really loved him. He said he was going to propose and we were going to get married after a year. We lived together secretly and also traveled together. And kept this secret from our parents and also had sex regularly, so it was very serious. And as a result, we started to have a lot of fights over little things like dishes not being cleaned, etc. In the last few months of living together, to the point that once I kicked him out of the flat and blocked him for a day. But then I ran back to him crying and took him and his stuff back to my flat. I think that shocked him a lot. And he put off our marriage for a few months. This really upset me and my mom too, but she didn't know the real reason for the delay. On top of that, he lost his job during those months and got a new one in another state and had to move. But he managed everything and I visited him and things were good. And he got his apartment ready, bought me a wedding dress and expensive gifts and said we should get married around May this year. But I really wanted to get married in March because it was our 1-year anniversary. But he said that we just fought hard in January and that we needed a few months to cool down. That kind of pissed me off. Anyway, in March I was at home with my mum and we were arguing about why we weren't married yet. And my mum told me that she had been proposed to by this Dr. 35M who lives in our town. And that I should just marry him. I broke up with my boyfriend by text and blocked him everywhere. This really hurt him, and a week later he emailed me saying that he was sorry for delaying things and that we could just get married in March, and that he couldn't be with anyone but me. And that it was his fault for delaying things and that we should have got married sooner. But he was just nervous because of all the fighting, but I chose to ignore it and it was the most painful thing I have ever done. I loved him with all my heart. But I couldn't let him waste any more of my time and let someone who didn't think I was worth anything, and my mum repeated those lines to me. This 35-year-old doctor was also kind to me. And I married him at the beginning of May. My ex found out and went ballistic, accusing me of cheating and telling all our mutual friends that I was cheating on him when I wasn't. He finally stopped and I never heard from him again. Now it's November and I hate this man I'm married. He regularly cheats on me with a nurse I know at the hospital. And even when I've confronted him about it, he says I should do what I want and that he doesn't care and that he knows I won't get a divorce. So I should suck it up. I can see that he is texting several other women. And I know for a fact that he is seeing many women. He spends his whole day out of the house and only comes home for a couple of hours to have sex with me and then just leaves. I literally have no idea where he is. I also find it so hard to relate to him, because he's from the motherland and only moved to the US about 3 years ago. And is about 10 years older than me. I feel like I'm talking to my dad when I'm with him. He's abusive, yells at me a lot and honestly doesn't even acknowledge me. Some days I try to cook him something nice and he just tells me not to bother. The kind of romantic relationship filled with love and joy with my ex is something I long for, and honestly, I don't think anyone could ever fill that void in my heart. I've told my mom about everything and she's told me that I'm married now and that I just have to work it out and that divorce is not an option. And that my ex had a fair chance to marry me and that if he wanted to, he would. Recently, I have started having dreams of being intimate with my ex again, and I look for him on Instagram and stalk him online, just wondering where my sweet boy is. He recently got a promotion at his new job. And I found a picture of him with a new car that he had just bought and I can still remember how excited he was because he always told me that when he finally got his signing bonus, he was going to buy that car for us and we were going to take so many fun road trips up and down both coasts with me as the passenger princess. He imagined and planned his life with me at the center of it. And I think I shattered all that by leaving him for some perceived self-worth nonsense my mum put in my head. It hurts to think that there's probably some other woman living the life he imagined with me. I was his first love and he was just so scared, innocent and nervous about marrying someone as wild as me. I think that's why he kept delaying things, because I kept fighting, screaming and throwing his stuff out. Somehow I think it's karma for how badly I treated him. But I really don't know how to get my life back. I feel so trapped and I literally cannot go on in this horrible marriage with this abusive man. What am I ever going to do? And for the buzz. I know I really messed up, but if you were my ex, how could I possibly make up for what I did and come back to you?
First comment.
What culture is your ex from? Is he from the same culture as you? Because for most people reading this article, in our culture, a year of dating is not enough time to get married. So your boyfriend's actions are very reasonable. Also, where do you live now? Because if you are living in a Western country, you definitely need to get a divorce. You don't want to live the rest of your life like this with a doctor. And it will probably only get worse from here. Once you get pregnant, you will be even more trapped. Get out while you can before you have children together. If your family is not supportive of your decision to leave, do you have friends outside your culture who could help you? If not, contact a women's shelter and ask them to help you decide how to leave your marriage. If you have any options other than relying on your ex-boyfriend, it will be much better if you can get out of the marriage some other way rather than relying on him. And let the relationship with your ex-boyfriend work itself out in its own time.
Second comment.
I think you have finally learned the consequences. You need therapy. You were an abusive partner and now you are being abused in an unhappy marriage as you would like. You need to break the cycle and start a new life. The only person I feel sorry for is your ex. I hope he finds someone worthy after you broke his heart with your ugly act. And stop listening to your mom. She's clearly not helping you make the right choices. You should listen to yourself more. Or consider someone else's advice better.
Third comment.
This is a truly heartbreaking story. It's clear that this woman made a huge mistake by breaking up with her ex-boyfriend. And she is now paying the price for it. Her mother's influence in her life is clearly very toxic. And it's important for her to set boundaries with her mother and start making her own decisions about her life. I think it's admirable that this woman is willing to admit her mistake and try to make amends with her ex-boyfriend. However, I also think it's important to be realistic about the chances of getting back together. It's possible that her ex-boyfriend is still in love with her and would be willing to give her another chance. But it's also possible that he has moved on and is not interested in getting back together. Ultimately, the decision of whether or not to try to win back her ex-boyfriend is up to her. However, I would encourage her to focus on healing from her breakup and rebuilding her own life. Regardless of whether or not she gets back together with her ex, she deserves to be happy. And she should not let her mother's mistakes dictate her own happiness.